Welcome to another AntSite video. This is just a quick detour video because in a previous episode I already presented a method of transferring ants from one test tube to another. However, since then many of you have asked what the situation with the more populous colonies. When their test tubes get dirty, how to deal with them. So that's what I'm going to show you now. First step, prepare water-filled test tubes. You will also need a brush and some tweezers. Let's start with the easiest colony. This is a Formica gagates colony. Remove the insect remains, and it is important that we try to move them as vibration-free as possible, because they come out as a result of the vibrations and we don't want that. I usually put the two test tubes together and shake the colony into the new test tube with a quick movement. You can also make such tapping movements like this so that the workers fall down due to their weight. As you can see, a worker has stayed there, so I either wait when the others are no longer there and I use this tapping method, or if that doesn't work, I gently tap the worker onto my hand to get her out. Down there, I'm quite experienced, I can hold the worker without harming her, so I simply transfer her over here. Finally, the worker is on my finger. Now I either wait for her to walk away, or if she doesn't want, I gently knock her off my hand. Place the cotton, and here we have our colony in the new test tube. This might stress them a bit, and I wouldn't use this method with larger colonies because they can kill themselves with formic acid. However, with species that don't use formic acid like these, or with smaller colonies, this method is less stressful for them. If we move them quickly and firmly, you can see that the colony has already calmed down here. They have gathered into one place. By the way, the queen's pheromone helps in this matter, because this smell of the nest has a calming effect on the other workers as well. They know they haven't been attacked and the queen hasn't disappeared, everyone are still in there, they can gather, they can calm down together. So if we do everything right, then in experienced hands this moving usually goes quite quickly. I know it's a lot at first, but there are still 3 more options, so I'm going to show you the same mechanism with increasingly difficult challenges. Now let's continue with this one, a mesostructure colony. They also have some seeds inside. In the case of the seeds, if they would be dirty or moldy, remove them all with tweezers or cotton wool and give them fresh seeds. However, their seeds are in a very good condition, we can simply turn the test tube upside down to transfer them along with the workers. As you can see, this test tube is quite dirty and the water has an interesting red color. By the way, I have seen yellow, blue, purple, all kinds of coloration before. It's very interesting, but it's not healthy for our ants in any way. Let's get the new test tube. Connect the ends, and quickly and firmly. Well, now we've got a worker left here again, so I knock her down on my hand, and then I can carefully transfer her over here. Here what is still worth checking is whether there are any brood, eggs, larvae, etc. that stuck to the wall of the old test tube, but there are none in this one, nor did in the previous Formica colony have larvae, eggs or pupae. They are ready for winter, so there wasn't much to see there. Now they are pretty messed up. Since this cotton wool is also quite dirty, they can get clean cotton wool, so I can close it with this. The messors don't use formic acid, so there is no need to fear that they will commit suicide. It's a stinger species, but their stinger is so underdeveloped so they can't use it. I think it's one of the friendliest ant species. You can see from their movements that they have calmed down a bit, even the queen is looking for her place. In such cases, the new test tube is always unusual for them, but by tomorrow they will get used to it, and it's possible that they will even put the seeds back in the middle of the test tube. So it's relatively easy with messors. By the way, it's most difficult to move those species that are small and that climb very well. For example, the Temnothrax species or the Colobopsis truncata. In their case, it's recommended to catch the worker with a brush for transfer. Well, I will show you this method with the next test tube. Let's continue with this one. This is also a Messor structor colony, but there are many more of them than in the previous test tube. Clean test tube. Ants. I put together the two test tubes like this, hold them together, and I get them through nicely. Good, and then you can see that 2 or 3 workers still remain in the old location. In the meantime, the ants come to my hand in the other test tube. Well, this can also be used for smaller species, and if you can't hold the worker without hurting her, you can still use a brush. You see, the worker attacked it, so I can carefully place her here next to my finger. The other one? She caught it. I can transfer her. Okay, so it's not complicated. Some species tend to run all the way up on the brush here. In that case, I simply turn the brush over and put her in from the other end, or somehow shake her off and then try to catch her again. They deserve a clean cotton wool too. Carefully, pushing them in like this. You see, there is no need to be afraid of such a large colony. We can put them nicely into the new test tube. I know they are nervous at this time because this shaking method is stressful, but we can move 4 colonies in 10 minutes. If we would use another method, for example, some people connect these test tubes with a transparent tube. This is also a good solution, as this is a much more stress-free method, but this way it can take days to move the ant colony. And there are also risks this way. For example, if you don't poke holes on it, it will be closed by connecting the 2 test tubes. And if there are no holes on it, the ants can suffocate, since they are in a closed system when you are waiting for them to move. This is how I usually do it, but it's a solution that requires patience, but it works immediately. We work with hundreds of ant colonies, so these immediate solutions work better for us than for someone who only keeps 1 or 2 colonies at home. And then, as I showed the worker relocation before, if there are any brood have left in the old test tube, I'm taking a hard look at them, but there aren't any left in these. Although there is a piece of sesame seeds left in this, so I can show it on that. Dip the end of the brush in water and wipe it a little, so that it's just wet but not too wet. And then, here's a piece of seed that sticks to the end of the water brush. So now, let's say this is a brood, So let's say it's a larva, and then I can transfer this into the colony in the same way next to my finger. With a careful opening. So here's the larva, and then we can put it here in the same way. So if the colony has brood, we can transfer it from the old place to the new place with this same patience game. And then here's the biggest challenge, the myrmicas. There are probably 60 of them in this test tube, but the mechanism is the same. Now I will show you another trick. Here, 2 workers are currently standing on this cotton wool. Just take it and simply transfer it here. Okay, so that's a method 2. I join the 2 ends, and here comes the slide. Almost everyone passed. Those who didn't, we transfer them with brush. At least 5 of them remained in the old place. This way you can catch more ants at the same time with the brush who are climbing on it. Well, it has escaped now, but this way we can hurt her in there. She can also be collected from the table. And then there are 3 workers have left. I'm going to try a different way now. So here they are on my hand, and then we can use a cotton wool in the same way as the brush before. Although threads may fall out of it, we can insert them here with it. So they can be knocked down like this, and then I can close it. In other words, there is still 1 worker left here. I put her in with the cotton wool too. Well, it's a patience game. So it's a game of patience, but this is how we can move a large colony from test tube to test tube. Or if you don't like this method, and we are talking about a larger colony that can already be kept in an open test tube, then there's another method of moving them from test tube to test tube. You can find out more about this in the following video by clicking on it. Thank you for your attention, don't forget to like and subscribe, hit the bell icon, and see you in the next video.